What's up guys? So today in this video I want to explain how to install the Ruger SR9 or SR9c night sight set by Trijicon, specifically the RA140s. The neat thing about these sights is that they're adjustable, but the thing is, what's weird is that it's kind of hard to find out how to install them on the internet. There's not really, I haven't found a single video of someone showing how to install these sights, and it was kind of a bummer because I like to do things myself if I can, and I really don't want to take it to a gunsmith if I can avoid it. So I'm not going to actually strip this down and reinstall it because I hate sighting in all my guns really, but I'm going to explain step by step how to do it, just so if you are like me and you bought these and you're like, oh, I don't really know how to install these, then it'll make your life a little easier. So I'm going to go ahead and strip this down and we'll get started. Alrighty. Now that we got the slide taken off, I'm going to explain how to install this rear sight, because that's really the complicated part. There's much better videos on how to install your front dovetail sights. It's really simple. You just slide it out with a punch basically, or knock it out, and then put in your new one. But it's not my main focus of the video. So with this rear sight installation process, whatever, there's a couple things that you really need to pay attention to when you do this. It's very important. You're going to have to take this screw out first. That's the first thing you need to do. This screw right here, okay, not your little set screw to keep the sight down, this big one. And you back it out all the way, but you need to keep in mind that it has resistance because of a spring in here. So when you get this all the way out, you need to keep pressure on this enough to keep that spring from shooting out of there, because you can lose it really easily. So my tip would be to do this on an area where if you do happen to have a spring fly out or something, you can find it easily. Flat surfaces are good. Do not do this in a cluttered workshop like I did. I got very lucky because that isn't the hard part. Once you get that screw backed out all the way, this little section here, the center part, is going to hinge up like on a lever, and that's because there's this roll pin inside here that you'll have to knock out afterwards to get it completely out of this structure. So once you knock out this roll pin, this whole little section here is going to pop out. You can remove that, and that's, you know, going to be your original sight. You take that off, and then the hard part is going to be the ball detent that is sitting right underneath this screw. You can't see it, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to take the thing off because I hate resighting in my stuff. But anyways, you need to be very careful when you get rid of that ball detent or take it out of there, because this thing is tiny. I mean, it's so small that, you know, if you drop it even on a flat surface and, you know, you don't have like a good contrast on your surface, it's very possible that you're just going to lose it entirely. So you have to be very, very careful when you take out that ball detent. And honestly, I don't have any great tips on how to take that out. I'm sorry, but I did it with a needle because I couldn't think of a better way to do it, and I didn't have anything small enough to get behind there other than that needle. So with that being said, in the original polymer sight, it seats in there like a glove. It's really tight, and it's like the sight is practically formed around the ball. So popping it out of there, it's going to pop out. It's not just gonna, like, you know, you can't just kind of push it a little bit and it roll out. So when you take that out of there, you're going to expect it to seat into the new sight exactly the same way. Thing is, it doesn't. Because it's polymer, it was able to form around that a lot better. But with mine, I don't know if it's like that with all of them, but it just kind of sits in a little slot. It doesn't really fully seat in there, so it's going to kind of seem like it's not sized correctly, but I promise you it is. Okay, so after you take out the screw, get rid of your spring. Don't get rid of it, keep it. But take the spring out, and then you punch out this roll pin, take this whole sight set or little deal off, and then you get the ball detent out of there. You set in your new one. You set this new one in here, you put the roll pin back in with a punch, and then you set your ball detent in that little slot. You'll see it, it's really small, but it goes in the exact same spot as it did last time. But you have to make sure you keep that ball detent, because if you don't have that ball detent in here, the way this screw system is set up, so that when you sight it in, it goes and clicks. I'm not sure what the MOA adjustment is or whatever on it, but if you don't have that ball detent in there, it's not going to click. It's just going to rotate, and it's going to be a lot harder to keep that thing seated in place, and your sights can work their way out without you touching them. So you want to make sure you keep that ball detent. Now once you set that ball detent in there, you need to you got to be really careful when you do all this, because if you don't have things in place where they need to be and you're holding on to everything, then it could just fall out and completely screw up the process. Put your ball detent in there, put your spring back in the original slot, set that thing down on the spring, this little deal that hinges down, set that into the slot that is carved out underneath this rear sight set. And once everything's seated properly, you set your screw back in there and you start working the screw back in. Now, when I installed this, it was actually, I hit a point of resistance when I was trying to screw this thing down to where I thought the threads were messed up and I didn't think it was going to go in. I actually ended up sending these sights back to Trijicon for testing, because they said that the tolerances might have been off. They had never heard of that happening before. They sent them back and they didn't do anything to them. So what I found out was I was just like, I was kind of irritated at that point, and I just forced them in. But the thing is, after that point of resistance, they went in just fine. So if you encounter a lot of resistance at one point, just go ahead and force your way through it, and it should be okay. I'm not saying 100% that it will be, but I was scared I was going to break it, and I didn't. It's fine. It just takes a little bit of elbow grease. So work that screw all the way back down. Make sure that ball detent stays in that slot, because it can come out while you're doing all this and it's kind of a pain. But if you can get it all done just right, trust me, it's worth the payoff, because these things are pretty sweet. I like them a lot. But you work that screw all the way back down there, and then once you get it past the point to where the screw is not in the way of your sight set, you're golden. And then you can go do your shooting and figure out exactly where you need to, how many clicks you need to put on this in order to get it on at the distance that you're going to be shooting it with. So that is my explanation of how to get these sights on here. I hope it helps, because I was frustrated when I could not find a way to, or I couldn't find a video or a forum or something with anybody explaining how to do it. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope this helps. Let me know if it was useful. Have a good day. Anyways, the biggest thing is that when you put this screw back in here, make sure that that ball detent is in place. It's not going to fully seat into the polymer, or like it did into the polymer into that steel. So I'm just gonna stop there and restart, because I don't like this video.